Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here today. We are still 2 episodes of Monday Night Raw as well as Tuesday Night SmackDown Live away from WrestleMania. But in this last few days, we've still had a few matches thrown up on the WrestleMania card to fill out this year's year. Honestly, there's no way to talk about WrestleMania 34 and the matches that have been announced without talking about the 2 matches that have not been announced yet. We are still waiting for The Undertaker to answer John Cena's challenge this week on Monday Night Raw. We had Kane come out and deliver a choke slam to John Cena, which is going to be setting up a match on Monday Night Raw coming up. And then we're also waiting to see what is going down with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn over on SmackDown. With the return of Daniel Bryan to the main roster. As of right now, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens have been fired. Their match has been taken down off of the WrestleMania card. But I think everybody is thinking that Daniel Bryan, Shane McMahon, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn are having some sort of a match at WrestleMania this year. Whether if it's announced or whether if it just comes up out of the middle of nowhere. All we know is that Shane McMahon has stepped away from being the commissioner of SmackDown. And that's all we really know. Lots of good stuff going on with the rest of WrestleMania. Matches that were announced, we had Cedric Alexander and Mustafa Ali complete the 205 Live Cruiserweight Championship Tournament. This this tournament was made for the belt after Enzo Amore was forced to step away from WWE after his so-called allegations. I had Cedric Alexander going to the finals against Drew Gulak. So to me, honestly, Mustafa Ali was pretty much an underdog sort of upset kind of there. So I'm looking forward to see what goes on with that match, but I think that's got pre-show written all over it. Alexa Bliss and Nia Jax was finally announced for the Raw Women's Championship. After winning the sort of gauntlet match of tag teams, Braun Strowman was told that he is going to be getting a shot at the bar at WrestleMania, but he is going to have to find a tag team partner that he can team with. As of right now, there are really no rumors pointing to who this is going to be. This could be a returning legend that still has some legs in him that can do a little bit of a run with Braun Strowman on Monday Night Raw. Could be somebody from NXT that's going to be getting some sort of debut. Or it just could sort of be some lackey on the roster. After seeing them compete on the Mixed Match Challenge over on Facebook Live, I thought it'd be pretty cool if they found some way for Alexa Bliss to be the tag team partner of Braun Strowman, and basically saying that this is the only person that Braun Strowman is able to get along with and actually team with. We had all the controversy finally come down with, I guess you can point the finger at Snickers. The WrestleMania Women's Battle Royal is going to be, I guess, nameless. It's just going to go with a generic name after basically having the Fabulous Moolah stripped off of there. I still think we're going to have the same result when it comes down to it. You still have 2 weeks basically to come up with some sort of famous name. I don't think they're going to go with China, but maybe Trish Stratus, maybe Lita. Maybe somebody like that, maybe even Sherry Martel gets her name put up there on the bright lights of WrestleMania. Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, we don't know much about that other than, its past history of maybe hoping that the winners really mean something, but when it comes down to it, WWE sort of forgets about the winner within a month after WrestleMania. The only names that I think that are only officially announced as of right now is the Revival, who says that they're going to win it as the first tag team to work together. So we'll have to see how that works out for them. With what's going over on SmackDown, they added the triple threat for the United States Championship. Randy Orton was a surprise winner at Fastlane. He's going to be taking on Bobby Roode and Jinder Mahal. So you've got 2 former WWE champions competing for the United States title. This is probably going to be a match that I hope has pre-show written all over it. Randy Orton wrestling on the WrestleMania pre-show would be sort of a surprise, but I don't know. I'm not the biggest SmackDown viewer, so it doesn't have my really attention there. From there, the rest of the matches have already been announced. Miz, Rollins, and Balor We've got Flair and Asuka. Ronda Rousey, who hasn't really been around on Monday Night Raw the past 2 weeks, even though she was promised to be at all the Raws leading to WrestleMania. Angle and Rousey going up against Triple H and Shane. Still got AJ and Nakamura going at it. And then in your main event for the Universal Championship, we've got Lesnar going up against Roman Reigns. So we're building up a pretty good WrestleMania right now. We're still holding our breath, waiting to see what's going on with Undertaker and Cena. But it'll be some good stuff coming up at WrestleMania this year. Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Steve Breach coming to you here today. This is more than likely going to be the 205 Live pre-show match that is going to be going to WrestleMania 34 this year. But after hosting the Cruiserweight Championship tournament over on 205 Live, we have our winners who are going to be competing at WrestleMania for that Cruiserweight Championship. Cedric Alexander going up against Mustafa Ali. I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about Enzo Amore, but of course this title was stripped from Enzo after the charges were sort of filed about him. I know that Enzo has always said that he's been innocent, and there's still fans out there proclaiming his innocence. All I can really say is that this is taking longer to pan out to prove his innocence than I really thought it was going to take. I thought that when basically fans were coming out with their evidence about the case, that this was going to be something a lot like the lines of when Emma was released the first time from WWE, where, released today and rehired tomorrow. But as of right now, I really heard nothing about this case over the last few weeks, whether if it's just WWE thinking that Enzo does need some time away, maybe coming back with a lot less heat and maybe a little bit more humility, I guess might be the word, where he carries himself in the locker room. Cedric Alexander against Mustafa Ali is a good pick to go out for the title. I can tell you that I've not seen a lot of Mustafa Ali. I had picked in the 205 Live tournament. I got every match right except for the Western Conference finals, I guess you can say. I really thought that Drew Gulak was going to be the guy who beat Mustafa Ali. Cedric Alexander is somebody that I've rooted for mainly because I had went to Ring of Honor when we went to WrestleMania 28, and then when we headed over to WrestleCon, ran into Cedric Alexander working the event as security for high spots, and it was like, dude, I just saw you wrestle for Ring of Honor the night before, and thought that it was pretty cool. Of course, from there I would see him in $5 Wrestling and doing a lot of other things, selling some DVDs at High Spot's booth at WrestleCon over the next 2 years, and always made my way over, said hi, said I was following his work, and getting a picture with a guy, and just how cool is this that this guy is going to be wrestling at WrestleMania this year. I want to pick Cedric Alexander to win this, but something about me thinks that I think WWE is going to be wanting Mustafa Ali as their 205 Live champion when they go over and wrestle on that Saudi Arabia trip at the greatest Royal Rumble of all time. I'm hoping that that's going to be a WWE Network special. The only thing that I think is working against it is that they're using the name Greatest Royal Rumble of all time, and the Royal Rumble is already a WWE pay-per-view. Why they would be using a Royal Rumble match on basically a house show, I have no clue. But they did Starrcade last year, and Starrcade wasn't even able to be a WWE Network special when they had a really, really great list of matches on that show. So it just ended up being a house show coming to you from North Carolina. So I'm picking Mustafa Ali in this one, but I think that honestly, if you tune in on the network and then watch this live pre-show, I think you'll be surprised. These guys really got some stuff going for them. Triple H, after being in control of 205 Live, is basically, rebuffed that show and got it going in a new direction. So we'll have to see where we go from here. All right, when we look at the Raw Women's Championship at WrestleMania, we're going to be having Alexa Bliss go up against Nia Jax. To me, this match really came together. You saw Nia sort of eyeing the championship for a long time. They played off Nia Jax and Alexa Bliss being best friends because of their friendship in real life, as well as on Total Divas, where they both debuted this year. And sort of have kept Nia Jax They've kept her hot where she's been beating up a lot of people, but they really haven't put her in special big matches where she's been able to be beat. You can sort of see that in NXT when Nia Jax lost, I believe when she lost to Bayley on the NXT TakeOver London special, that is when Nia Jax sort of lost stock. Then she sort of became the backup to Eva Marie and things like that. This was the match that I was honestly hoping that was going to happen for Alexa Bliss and Nia Jax at WrestleMania. I think this is the best case scenario for them. With Asuka winning the Royal Rumble and Alexa Bliss looking like she had a straight run with the title to WrestleMania, I was sort of thinking it looks like Asuka is going to pick Alexa Bliss in a match that doesn't make as much sense as getting to see Asuka versus Charlotte, two of the best competitors in the women's division in WWE. To me, I don't really think that there's much to this match. Giving Alexa Bliss the win sort of solidifies her as being a really good champion. She was a champion heading into WrestleMania last year when she lost to Naomi in that, I believe, 6-pack challenge for SmackDown. Nia, it would be fun to see her win the belts at WrestleMania. I think that Nia is going to be the champion. But I think that also you have to sort of draw where they're going after this. And Nia being the champion on Monday Night Raw, you sort of look at their roster and wonder who's out there who can really beat her, unless Asuka loses her shot at the championship over on SmackDown. Then Asuka would be the one to come back. I don't want to draw comparisons to Nia Jax and to Kong over in TNA, but when Kong was holding the Knockouts Championship years ago, they had a lot of good, really, really good wrestlers. They had, my mind just completely went blank. Madison Rayne, I can't remember the girl's name. I was going to say Gail Kim beat her, but it wasn't Gail Kim the first one to beat Kong. It was another girl that was a little blonde girl, and she was like here today, gone tomorrow. She looked like she had a lot of promise, then she just disappeared. But I don't see people like Bayley, like Alexa Bliss. I don't see Sasha Banks. I don't see these girls being able to, in your mind, this is a girl that's going to beat Nia Jax at WrestleMania. So I'm thinking that Nia is going to have her day where she does win the championship, but I think at WrestleMania it's going to be Alexa Bliss being able to say that she's beaten everybody in WWE and where's her new competitor to go after the championship. And then you have the Raw shakeup. You bring some video from SmackDown. You get some fresh matchups for her. This is a weird one because of the fact that the time this match was drawn up was that they were going to have a matchup on Monday Night Raw to see who the number one competitors to go after the Bar. Sheamus and Cesaro's championship at WrestleMania 34. And out of the blue comes Braun Strowman, who basically says that he doesn't have a road to WrestleMania, a lot like John Cena. And he comes in and he just starts whooping on everybody to the point where Braun Strowman comes out the victor. And as Monday Night Raw fades to black, we are wondering, what are we going to do at WrestleMania? Braun Strowman, 1 against 2? Obviously, Cesaro and Sheamus, 2 really good competitors in the WWE. Can these guys be able to compete against Braun Strowman, or is Braun Strowman going to be too much where he's able to overcome him? Braun Strowman just won, I believe there was 4 teams in that match on Monday Night Raw, so he was able to beat 8 guys. Why wouldn't he be able to beat 2? Kurt Angle was able to straighten this all out on Monday Night Raw, where basically he said that Braun Strowman is going to be able to get his title shot against the Bar at WrestleMania. He is the number 1 contender. But Angle is not going to be able to let Strowman come in to WrestleMania and wrestle 2-on-1. He is going to have to find a tag partner. As of right now, I haven't heard any rumors who this is going to be, whether if it's going to be a returning legend, if it's going to be an NXT superstar, if it's just going to be somebody on the Monday Night Raw brand who does not have a match. Is he going to bring out Mark Henry, a Hall of Famer? Is he going to bring out somebody like Big Show? Somebody that, he's had a history with, but is able to team together. Just about the only person that I've heard that they can think to be in this slot would be the Drifter, who would be Elias. That'd be kind of weird for me because they built up Elias as a heel. Him teaming with Braun Strowman would be sort of a mixed bag, a lot like Sheamus and Cesaro, how they came together. We've seen these guys beating the hell out of each other for the past few weeks, and I think the last time that we saw Elias is when Braun Strowman dropped the piano on this dude to win a match on Monday Night Raw. Your mind goes wild. I mean, you could bring back, Braun Strowman is so sure that he's going to win this match that he brings out one of the WrestleMania legends that either works backstage as a producer, like the $1 Million Man or like IRS, that he's so sure, then he helps somebody get a WrestleMania moment that never got one, or maybe somebody comes up from NXT that we've never seen before. My mind keeps on drawing to, you don't want to break up a team, but like bringing up a guy sort of like with his shape and size, sort of like a guy from Sanity, or maybe one of the guys from Heavy Machinery. I don't think that's the way those guys are going to debut, but your mind's going to be going crazy. I mean, that's why we like it when they named a mystery tag team partner, and just hope that they're able to pull something out of the bag. As of right now, I mean, you got to be thinking Strowman's going to win the titles, unless he just goes out there with somebody like Alexa Bliss, his mixed tag team partner, from that Facebook Live show, and that's about the only way that you can think he's not going to be able to get it done. So this is going to be something that more than likely builds a storyline coming out of WrestleMania, or maybe, they become tag champions and they just start beating the hell out of each other. Or it's going to be a lot like WCW when I believe Rick Steiner held the belt, held the tag team champions as a singles guy once and just was filling people in out of the blue to be his tag partner. Or like when Giant and Sting broke up and then they had a match for the tag titles and Big Show ended up winning them. So we'll see what goes down at WrestleMania with this one. At WrestleMania this year, we're going to be having the first ever WrestleMania Women's Battle Royal. As of last week, this was the Fabulous Moolah Battle Royal, but that is not going to be this year because of the fact that basically people with no life basically wrote to people like Snickers and complained, and WWE was forced to strip the name the Fabulous Moolah Battle Royal because sponsorship from WrestleMania was threatened to be pulled. I talked a little bit about this, but didn't want to get into it because I didn't want it to overpower the match that was supposed to be. But I guess Fabulous Moolah has a reputation of where she trained girls, not giving them the best space to train in, not giving them the best training. There's controversial directions that was given to the wrestlers when they went to go leave her training camp and go to work for various promotions, where maybe they were doing favors for promoters as well as wrestlers, for them to build path. And on top of all that, Fabulous Moolah was not giving them a lot of the money that they would make when they were going out there on the trips, charging promoter fees, as well as training fees and other things like that. But when it comes down to this year's WrestleMania Women's Battle Royal, you know that you're going to have a lot of the same sort of names from NXT as well as Raw as well as SmackDown that are already not being promoted in matches. You're going to have your WrestleMania surprises. As of right now, you've only got Sasha Banks, you've got the Riot Squad, you've got Team Absolution, Becky Lynch, and Naomi named for this match. But I thought that when they named this match, it was kind of a little bit of a surprise because the fact that we just had a Battle Royal with the women's at Royal Rumble. And I know people will be like, hey, wait a minute. They do the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal every year, and they have the Royal Rumble in January. But I think that the Royal Rumble has always been built as a way to build the number one contender. And this year, they made it sort of like groundbreaking. This Battle Royal for the women is going to be the first one. It's a step to build in the right direction of the women having the same equal grounds to work on as the men. And, they were able to main event the show. To me, honestly, when you do a Battle Royal and call it, monumental and groundbreaking, and then you do another Battle Royal right out of the gate at WrestleMania, it's sort of like, I understand you want this to be the year of the women and you want them to be empowered and moving forward, but it's sort of like the same way you look at the Royal Rumble. They did the Royal Rumble in January, and all of a sudden in April, they're building the greatest Royal Rumble. Well, yeah, that one that had just happened at the beginning of the year didn't seem that bad. I would love to see people like, I think that Nikki and Brie are going to be in this match. It's easy to think of because they're basically, they made a shirt and they put their logos on the shirts. So you got to be thinking they're going to be there. I don't think we're going to see Lita. I don't think we're going to see Trish Stratus. A lot of those returning names that were in the Royal Rumble, I don't think they're going to, sort of water them down by bringing them back again so fast. But if you can remember back to WrestleMania 25, and they did the Miss WrestleMania Battle Royal there, you had a lot of names of girls that have a history in WWE that weren't really the best wrestlers that they were put into the Royal Rumble. Those girls could be brought back because of the fact you just have to get sort of thrown out of the ring and do a really quick bump. Some of those girls, like Sunny, were only in the Battle Royal from the moment the bell rang, and then all of a sudden they were out. So I would love to see Brie be the one who gets the win here, sort of kick her career back into gear after coming back, and especially after being eliminated by her own sister at the Royal Rumble. I think that would be a really good storyline for Total Divas. If it's going to be somebody on the main roster, I'd love to see Becky Lynch get the win. I think that would be a great way to do the Women's Battle Royal and sort of put the focus back on her, because it's not like she hasn't been getting the spotlight, but I think that she's one of the best wrestlers they have in WWE. And because of Charlotte and other girls there, she hasn't been getting the best year to be the champ. The Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal is always one of the biggest things that happens on the WrestleMania stage. I think that everybody can see from the past few years that they've done the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal since WrestleMania 30, that we've seen just about everybody win this kind of match. We've seen the budding superstar that we thought that was going to be pushed to the top of the card at Cesaro. We've seen sort of I think at WrestleMania 31, we all thought the retiring legend, The Big Show, get the win. At WrestleMania 32, we had the NXT superstar getting sort of the mega push coming onto the main roster in Baron Corbin. And then last year we saw Mojo Rawley, the sort of NXT graduate that had been moved up to the main roster, that was sort of looking for that big push to come out of there. Within a month, all four of those guys were not even talking about the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal or receiving any kind of push. Cesaro, within a month of WrestleMania, was losing matches to Jack Swagger. One of my favorite guys, a really good wrestler, but sort of was looked at as a joke in WWE, and he was losing matches for the Intercontinental Championship back then to him. The Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal this year, they don't have a lot of names thrown into the hat. We've got Baron Corbin, Mojo Rawley, Ty Dillinger, and then we've got the Revival, Dash Wilder and Scott Dawson. I would not be surprised if the winner is not on that list yet. I don't really know what to think here. I mean, I know that, you've got over on NXT, you basically had Johnny Gargano. He lost the retirement match, but he's going to be added back to the NXT roster to come back and fight against his past tag partner, Tommaso Ciampa. I don't know if they're ready to graduate Johnny Gargano to come on, and then maybe this is a way for him to be put onto the main roster. Johnny Gargano, to me, is a little bit of an underdog. So for him to come right in to WWE and win the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal would be a little bit of a surprise to me. I can't really think of anybody off the top of my head that I'm rooting for to win this match, because I'm not really looking for this to be the biggest push in the world. I know that Kane has never won one of these, and it looks like he's getting a big push right before WrestleMania, being a part of the John Cena and Undertaker feud. Maybe it'd be cool to see Kane get the win, especially now that he's back wrestling with the mask and sort of being that guy. We all know that Kane's career is going to be coming to a close sooner than later. So much like with WrestleMania 31, when the Big Show won the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, maybe now it'll just sort of be that launching ground for the retiring guy, to sort of get that boost, much like Big Show got then. Or they can use it to bring back the legend like Mark Henry going into the Hall of Fame this year. Mark Henry his retirement was sort of announced a few months ago, and then Mark Henry came out and said that he was not done wrestling, and that he is going to be doing things for WWE. Maybe you have Mark Henry go into the Hall of Fame, and much like Ric Flair at WrestleMania 24, come out and say he's not done yet. He wants one more shot at his WrestleMania moment. He did get that, I guess, by getting the win at WrestleMania 29 over Ryback. And even then, we were wondering how much longer, Mark Henry had left in the tank. But maybe he gets the win. I'm sure that next year we'll have a flood of guys, and we have a sort of a better list of guys to go down for the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. So looking forward to doing a little bit of an updated video next week with that one. Oh man, I don't really like to do these full show previews and make videos for matches that I think is going to be a snore fest, because it just gets to the point where it's like, you might as well just not even make the video if you're just going to come on here and bash it. But to me, this has got pre-show written all over it. United States Championship, Randy Orton going up against Bobby Roode and Jinder Mahal. Probably the best way I can compare this match in the history of WrestleManias would be WrestleMania 29. The Miz against Wade Barrett on the pre-show for the Intercontinental Championship. The match had happened in the rain, where the people there in New Jersey were getting rained on. Randy Orton, a WrestleMania legend, a WWE legend. He's going to go to the Hall of Fame. He's not my favorite wrestler. He's not a lot of guys' favorite wrestlers. But Orton, I think, gets a lot of respect because what he has done. I mean, this guy main evented WrestleMania 25. He main evented WrestleMania 30. He's been in a lot of big matches. He's been in a lot of matches on WrestleMania cards. That WrestleMania 28 versus Kane, second match on the card. I don't really remember what the feud was at all. I can honestly tell you that I was not looking forward to the match at all. But when I think about WrestleMania 28, maybe it's the fact that I was there live. And, when the match started, I ran to get me, Miguel, and Ravi drinks and came back. And I thought that it was going to take up the whole match. But I ended up being able to see a lot of it. And honestly was surprised by the match being out there. Maybe Orton is one of those guys, a lot like, sort of Rey Mysterio, is that when I don't put a lot of emphasis on how good a match is going to be, it comes out and really surprises me that it's going to be there. Orton won the United States Championship at Fastlane by beating Bobby Roode. I know that Bobby Roode beat Jinder Mahal in the finals for the United States Championship on SmackDown, a tournament that I did not get to see anything about. We'll have to see how this one pans out, but I'm guessing that at WrestleMania, Randy Orton's going to keep that belt. I mean, I just don't see Bobby Roode or Jinder Mahal being able to take away from it. I know that WWE doesn't want to knock Randy Orton, making him think that he's less of a superstar than he is, but I think at this point in his career, he can see himself sliding down the card, and maybe they'll give him the respect of not putting him on the pre-show because he's Randy Orton. But I think that honestly, when you look at the list of matches, as of right now, unless you really want to knock the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal because of the fact that we all know where those winners have held up in the next year, leading up to WrestleMania, it hasn't really gave their career a boost. I gotta say that, it's right there with Andre the Giant Battle Royal. It's one of the matches that I cared the least about on the show. First match that was named for WrestleMania 34 on Monday Night Raw is going to be the Intercontinental three-way. It's going to be The Miz defending against Seth Rollins and Finn Balor. Finn Balor and Seth Rollins are two guys that have really sort of tied themselves together. Both guys are former champions and leaders of the Monday Night Raw locker room, as well as being two of the forefront future stars at WWE that are going to be the true main eventers that push this company to whatever heights that they believe that it's going to be at. The way the stars aligned this year, there are no main events for Finn Balor or Seth Rollins. In my opinion, I'm a bigger fan of Finn Balor than I am of Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins was an awesome heel when he had that first championship run after WrestleMania 31. And he was one of those guys that I honestly at the time really hated. And it took until his injury when he left for me to really realize how much I really hate the character, and I might hate all of the disqualification finishes that came along with it, but I really missed the character, and I really liked his in-ring work, and I thought that he really was a good worker, even though they were giving him bad finishes along the way. Finn Balor is a guy that I fell in love with. I bought the hype on him coming to NXT, a lot like when Daniel Bryan debuted on the first season of NXT with Chris Jericho, where they had the match on the opening night. Everybody talking about how great of a worker he was, and I really was like, well, if everybody loves this guy so much, I want to see why they love him so I can love him as well, because people are saying how good this guy was when he worked in Japan, how good this guy was when he worked at Ring of Honor, and I went out and I did the work, and I found DVDs of his best ofs matches that he'd had, and I made sure I watched those to be able to be up on how big of a fan I was with him, and that's the same way I was with Finn Balor. When he was coming to NXT, I wanted to see what the buzz was. And, of course, he made that first entrance on his first NXT TakeOver, coming out as the Demon. And, I mean, that was bigger and better than almost anything I ever thought that they were going to do with this guy. He became NXT champion, and it seemed like he honestly held the belt a little bit too long, to the point where people were ever wondering if he was ever going to make the main roster. When he was promoted to the main roster, they gave him the belt smack dab right off the bat. And, he had the injury, took it out of action. And I understand when some guys come back from injury, they wonder if this guy has the injury bug, and can they push this guy, because you have to wonder when the next injury is coming. I know that when they did the Raw 25 from the Hammerstein, and they had the whole Balor Club and DX meeting inside of the ring, and Triple H brought Finn Balor forefront and basically was saying, this is my guy. Maybe we have to wait to the point of when Triple H takes over, but I'm still that guy right now who's just basically saying, I want to see it now. So being able to see Balor and Rollins, have their matches on Monday Night Raw that led up to the Elimination Chamber, seeing them battle in the Elimination Chamber, even though that match wasn't really based on them, and that story was about how good Braun Strowman is, and how Roman Reigns is able to overcome the odds to setting up the main event of WrestleMania this year. And both of those guys were able to be in the chamber, be believable, to the point where you had to have that question mark in your back of your mind. Like, there was people who knew that Roman was going to win it, but you can make a claim, even if it is only a 1% chance, that WWE would change their mind and listen to the fans, and Rollins and Finn Balor had to be a pick of somebody that you're going to be there. I know that I've talked about these two guys for a long period of time, and I'm forgetting to talk about the Intercontinental Champion, The Miz. The Miz is the guy, man. He is good. I don't care if you talk crap about this guy's ring work. I don't care if you talk crap about the way he runs his mouth. I believe that The Miz is right up there in the category with being one of the best guys. You can talk about the fact that Rolling Stone named him the best wrestler of 2017, and he loves to talk about that, and he'll rub that in your face all day long. But I really believe he has the stuff to back it up. And, he had his time, back in 2011 when he was champion, and, he got the main event WrestleMania, even though he was sort of like the asterisk of the match. Even though it was The Miz against John Cena, that match was basically trying to tell the story, setting up WrestleMania 28 with Cena versus The Rock. And it wasn't time to have that match. You had to build it and make people wait that year to make WrestleMania 28 as big as it was. Since then, when it comes to WrestleMania, The Miz has wrestled on the pre-show. The Miz has wrestled in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. He's wrestled on the pre-show. He's been a member of a tag team. Seeing The Miz be able to have it's a triple threat, but have a singles match where the spotlight is going to be on him coming down to the ring as champion, as a Miz fan, I believe is awesome. Awesome. And I think this is going to be really, really cool for all the parties that are involved here. So I'm really looking forward to this one. when it comes down to it, I think I have to be a homer. I have to pick my guy and tell you that I'm going to be rooting for Finn Balor. And as much as I state the case that this guy needs a push and he needs to be champion, you know, you also have to wonder if this match is even going to happen as a three-way, with The Miz expecting his first baby with Maurice. I believe the due date is either a day or maybe 2 days after WrestleMania. Baby could come early, baby could have complications, this, that, or the other. So at least with them having a three-way, it sets up the piece that if Miz has to be absent, we could still have Balor versus Rollins, and you don't have to pull everybody off of WrestleMania. So maybe that is pretty smart of them to do that. But as a fan of all three guys, I think I'm crazy for saying this, and I think it might not happen, and my prediction might change. But as of right now, I think I'm actually rooting for The Miz to win this match and walk out with that championship belt to show how awesome this guy really is. I was really rooting for this match, and with Charlotte being the face of SmackDown's women's division, as well as Asuka being one of the rising stars of Monday Night Raw, I didn't really think that they were going to pull off the switch. It looked like Asuka was going into a program with Raw's women's champion Alexa Bliss, where basically Asuka was going to pick to go after the Raw championship. And in my mind, I was saying Charlotte versus Asuka is a match that I think that a lot of wrestling fans are going to want to see. Charlotte Flair is possibly the best women's wrestler in WWE, in my opinion. I understand that Asuka, she does have a big group of fans, and she does really wrestle a real physical style with her punches and her kicks. I don't think that really appeals to everyone. For people to think that maybe I am going towards Charlotte and thinking that she's one of the best women's wrestlers in WWE, go back and watch when she first debuted and she was coming up. I really was not on the Charlotte train. And I believe at that time I was really saying that Becky Lynch was going to be the face of the women's division, even though Charlotte was getting the push out of the gate. I felt that there would be a time when Becky and Charlotte would split, and Becky would be the one that would start beating Charlotte, sort of like the come from behind, that Charlotte was getting the push out of the gate because of the Flair connection. And I've always really thought that Becky was going to be the best, and that's why I think she's got a really good shot to win that Fabulous Moolah Memorial Battle Royal this year. But this year at WrestleMania, this is going to be a really big match. I know that they're going to be pushing, the heritage of Flair and her, being a big part of WrestleMania, with her coming out at WrestleMania 32, winning that three-way with Becky Lynch and Sasha Banks. This is Asuka's first WrestleMania. Asuka, of course, shot through NXT. She came up to the main roster being undefeated and hasn't lost a match since being called up to the main roster. I understand that she's surpassed Goldberg's streak of matches, and she's going to be put to the test. I know that when a lot of people come up from NXT, all of a sudden they hit the ground running on the main roster and they're undefeated, and then they start pulling off the undefeated streak, sort of gimmick on TV, and then they get to the point of like, well, how are we going to beat this guy? And then once we beat him, then what do we do with him after that? And that's sort of like when people get lost in the shuffle. If you think about guys like Bo Dallas or Adam Rose, that just was the path that they took with people from NXT, because that was the only way that they could think to bring him up. Asuka, I believe, is something special. Definitely, she has connected with NXT fans as well as WWE fans, and sort of shown off a style of wrestling that we've never seen in WWE before. I think you have to be a sucker to not pick Asuka to win this match. I think that they've been waiting for her to get a championship match in WWE until WrestleMania, for her to get a WrestleMania moment. But at the same time, it's hard to pick against Charlotte. I understand we're a while removed from her undefeated streak on pay-per-view. I believe that ended Fastlane last year before WrestleMania. So that's not really the reason why I'm picking her, but this is sort of a hard match to pick. I want to see how the storyline builds for this. I'm sort of glad that Asuka is going to be moving to SmackDown for this storyline, but at the same time, it looks like she's going to be staying on Monday Night Raw, which is a little bit weird. But then, they did the shakeup after WrestleMania with the roster, so maybe that's just when they're going to flip her over, or maybe they're going to wait until she wins the championship at WrestleMania, and that just means that the SmackDown championship stays, or the SmackDown champion will stay with SmackDown, and that's how she ends up jumping over. So there's ways to pay this off, but they didn't want to end the storyline of Asuka versus Alexa Bliss. I think we are going to see that match in some way before WrestleMania, even if it is a non-title match, because it really wouldn't make sense for her to be chasing after Charlotte at the same time having a championship match, having a chance to win the belt on Raw. But then again, maybe it's champion versus champion, and they could go with that at WrestleMania. We'll see. It's a hard one to pick, but as of right now, I'm picking Asuka to win this one. All right, the next match is really special to WrestleMania. It is definitely going to be one of the main drawing attractions that brings wrestling fans from past and present together to be watching the WWE Network. There's definitely going to be a lot of talk from, I guess you can say, the so-called UFC fans who used to watch wrestling to see how Ronda Rousey is going to do in the ring and being a part of the spectacle that is WrestleMania. I think that Ronda Rousey coming to WWE is going to be the biggest thing that could bring in those fringe wrestling fans to come back, even if it is for only one night, to see what they're missing. Ronda Rousey at this time right now is probably not going to be the best wrestler. She definitely is not the best talker when it comes to setting up promos, to setting up her matches. But I think that her drawing power from being able to beat people in UFC and have matches that lasted, less than a minute, and being able to knock somebody out in one punch, is what's going to bring it to the table. Definitely the armbar is something that we've been looking forward to seeing in a WWE ring since WrestleMania 31, when she jumped the barricade with The Rock, and was able to hip toss on Triple H and throw Stephanie as well. This is a match that came together over the last period of a year. Definitely for the last while, we've been wondering how Kurt Angle was going to come back to WWE. It looked like when Angle signed his deal to come back to WWE to be put into the WWE Hall of Fame, it was just going to be as sort of a I guess you can say an out-of-the-ring performer, with him being the GM of Monday Night Raw, and having sort of like that feel-good guy that is able to deliver a promo, have good, be able to be believable in the role that, even though he's not still the guy that he once was, if stuff did get frisky in the ring, he would be able to handle himself. And I think that's what Triple H is. I apologize, that is what Kurt Angle is in the role of GM, especially being able to be somebody who's going to stand up to Triple H and Stephanie, and not just get walked over in a role like Teddy Long did when he was in commissioner of SmackDown back in the day. Kurt Angle came back at TLC. He wrestled in that match replacing Roman Reigns, and it sort of was like a little bit of a Band-Aid sticker just to be there. He was a part of the Monday Night Raw team. At Survivor Series, being the captain of a team, he had to go out there and make sure that Team Raw was able to get the win. And even though him and Triple H didn't see eye to eye, it took until now for them to really pay off on that storyline of Survivor Series. In the opening match, or in the opening video of my full show preview, I talked about the fact that Survivor Series to me was probably the most I've been hyped for a wrestling show in quite a while. And to me, it sort of was a little bit of a letdown, and it led to my decision of basically not to go to WrestleMania this year. it seemed like it got really hyped up, and at the end it was sort of a letdown with the Triple H show. Triple H is always going to be one of my favorite guys. I always look forward to his matches at WrestleMania. I can honestly tell you the match against Rollins last year wasn't the best match that I've ever seen, but like the match against Daniel Bryan, the match against at Sting, even though it wasn't the best wrestling match of all time, was really, really entertaining. And it's one of those matches that I know is going to be on every WrestleMania card. Even if it looks like he's not going to be getting the win, it's something that I really, really look forward to. It's easy to see, when talking about this match, Kurt Angle and Ronda Rousey are going to get the win. This is going to be the kickoff of Ronda Rousey actually being a competitor in WWE. WWE is really talking about the fact that Ronda Rousey is going to be a part of the main roster. She's going to be a little bit different for the most part. She wants to be treated like she is, Charlotte or Bayley or Sasha Banks. She's not going to be a part of every pay-per-view. And that's a little bit of trying to not make the spectacle that is Ronda Rousey, dry up. Brock Lesnar is the guy that, comes in for special pay-per-views. He's going to be part of WrestleMania. He's going to be a part of Survivor Series, SummerSlam. But, he's not on every Monday Night Raw to build up to that. So I'm not sure when Ronda's, storyline is going to end. And she's going to take a leave of absence, and she won't be traveling to Monday Night Raw and doing TVs and things like that. But it is cool to see that Ronda is committed to WWE to the point where she's not going to take television off. And she is going to be a part of WWE to make sure that, they're able to draw numbers, especially in this very important time when WWE is maybe trying to lure in getting a new television deal with Fox. They still have to support numbers to see if maybe they're not able to go to Fox, if they can stay with USA, and how much USA is going to pay. And Ronda, as of right now, is probably the biggest star that they have, being bigger than John Cena, and definitely, I think, being more of a draw than Brock Lesnar is. Brock, did a house show last week where he wrestled in Chicago. The match was against Kane. It lasted less than a minute, and the fans were very easy to understand that they were upset that they didn't get their money's worth. That they felt Brock should have been out there longer, even though it was a match against Kane and everybody knew that he was going to win. Maybe he should have, suplexed him around a little bit more than he did. Maybe, sell a little bit, act like Kane was going to be beaten on him. But less than a minute doesn't really make much sense. And, that's always been my argument against why I think WWE is a better value when you're looking at pay-per-view dollars. Going against UFC, because although it is really cool to see, Ronda Rousey slap the armbar on somebody and make him tap out in, 15, 16 seconds, but then when you have to step back to the table, when that bill comes from the cable company, and you're like, man, I just paid $60 for 14 seconds of action, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. So I know that they're going to drop a really good match where Ronda Rousey's able to get the best of Stephanie, and I'm sure that, Triple H will be putting a beating on Kurt Angle, making it look like they're going to be able to pull out the win. But definitely Stephanie's going to be doing some tapping, and we'll have the start of Ronda Rousey's career, WWE starting off with a big W. Occasionally when I'm making these WrestleMania previews as well as other pay-per-view previews, I normally tell you what I think the best wrestling match of the night is going to be. It might not have the most, entertainment to it. It might not have the biggest stars to it, but you just know when these guys get in the ring, they are going to go. For, big fans, I guess they call it the hardcore fans of wrestling, we have seen this match once before on a big stage in Japan, on New Japan Pro Wrestling's Wrestle Kingdom. We had AJ Styles of the Bullet Club go up against Shinsuke Nakamura. This was honestly a big-time dream match for a lot of people to see these two guys get into the ring. And immediately, once it was said that these guys were jumping ship and going to WWE, we were hoping that we were going to see this on the grand stage of WrestleMania. People thought that it might happen at last year's WrestleMania. even though Nakamura was not a part of the main card yet. I'm really looking forward to this match. I think that these two guys are going to tear the house down. AJ Styles is coming in to WrestleMania as your WWE champion. Shinsuke Nakamura is coming in off of his Royal Rumble win. Definitely when you talk about Nakamura, you can say that he's had a big year since being on the main roster, but definitely since SummerSlam, he really took a step backwards in my opinion. That is when he went on his streak of losing matches to Jinder Mahal, who was the WWE champion at the time. I really thought that after Nakamura was able to beat John Cena on an episode of SmackDown, that was sort of his step forward to becoming the face of SmackDown and being sort of, I guess you can say the John Cena of the brand, now that John Cena wasn't going to be around as much. I definitely feel that Nakamura is a big part of WWE, but I know that there's lots of things out there about AJ maybe switching with Seth Rollins. To AJ goes to Monday Night Raw, and Seth Rollins, who has been on Monday Night Raw for a while and sort of had every feud that there possibly is possible over there, sort of finding a way to freshen things up. This definitely would be a way for Nakamura to move to the front of the class and be the guy on the show. Definitely when you do babyface versus babyface, especially for a championship on the grandest stage of being WrestleMania, it's kind of hard to predict which way they're going to go. Definitely, if you're thinking about the brand split idea of maybe AJ jumping to Monday Night Raw, it's sort of really easy to see the idea of him losing this match and Nakamura becoming the champion. With the fact that Nakamura has lost championship title matches not once, not twice, but I believe 3 times, and now is getting another shot finally at WrestleMania. I think that it's his time. I think that's what they were setting the pace for, especially with them not doing some sort of a gimmick match. I don't really want to play into the whole him being Japanese thing, but I don't know what they could have done for his sort of gimmick match. Like Jinder Mahal had the Punjabi prison match where they brought back Great Khali for the Randy Orton feud, but I'm sure they could have figured out something, and especially with Jinder Mahal not really going that long with the title after finally getting out of the Nakamura feud. I think that's what the plan has to have been. I really was thinking Nakamura was going to win the Rumble months ago, and just sort of rode that out until he finally was able to do it. I definitely think that this is going to be the best match of the night, and as of right now, there really is no storyline for this match, so it's kind of hard to talk about this anymore, but I think at WrestleMania, I don't think it's going to be a knock against AJ Styles, but I think it's going to be Nakamura winning the championship, and it plays back into the WrestleMania 32 episode of WWE 24, where AJ Styles is talking about him having his first WrestleMania match against Chris Jericho, and him telling his son that even though he lost the match, he didn't lose that night, because he got to wrestle at WrestleMania, and he got to really show everybody how good he is, and I'm thinking that's what WrestleMania is going to be this year. This is the big one. Even though I'm hoping that Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns is not going to be the main event of WWE's WrestleMania 34, it is the big one that they're hyping up as the big match because it is for the Universal Championship. We have not seen a face-to-face confrontation between Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns yet on WWE's Monday Night Raw because of the fact that they're playing up this gimmick that Brock Lesnar is ducking Roman and has no-showed Monday Night Raw twice. Of course, this plays into the angle/storyline against maybe wrestling news that Brock Lesnar is leaving WWE and heading and signing an exclusive UFC contract after WrestleMania once his deal is done. I sort of thought that once that news came out, that might have been a story that was planted by WWE, and it's hard for me to think that Brock Lesnar would really have appeal to be a full-time UFC star. He's only really going to fight UFC at the most 2 fights a year. And we've seen from history's past at UFC 200 that when needed, I guess Brock has the leverage against Vince McMahon and WWE that he can still be under WWE contract and still fight for UFC. Obviously, I don't think that Vince is going to be wanting Brock to be fighting, I guess you can say, within 2 months of a SummerSlam or a WrestleMania, because of the fact that he doesn't want to see Brock Lesnar get injured and one of his major stars of his company hurt on somebody else's watch. So that's something that I've always had in the back of my mind. Them playing up this storyline of Brock not appearing on Monday Night Raw, I'm not really sure if this is their way of trying to get the fans to cheer for Roman and boo Brock because of the fact that Brock is making people waste their money, making people waste their time, not thinking that it means anything to show up to Monday Night Raw, even though guys like Roman Reigns, Kofi Kingston, the people of the main roster. I don't know why I think of the common man on the WWE roster. I've always sort of thought about Kofi Kingston as the guy that deserves to be on WrestleMania and deserve to always have his spot. And, when there's always the WrestleMania snubs, Kofi was always one of the guys that I always noticed throughout the years and sort of felt bad that a lot of part-timer guys were filling in the roles that weren't around all the time. What they did on Monday Night Raw with Roman, sort of turning his attention away from Brock and going after Vince McMahon. I guess that, that is a way for them to really have Brock show up on Raw now that Roman Reigns is suspended. It's sort of like Brock is going to go on Raw, talk a lot of crap because of the fact that he knows that Roman's not going to come out there and confront him, and there will be no face-to-face confrontation, and Brock won't be faced to fight anyone before WrestleMania, knowing that if Roman's on the show, he's going to go out there and have a promo, probably be featured in some sort of a tag match, and he's only going to hurt his chances for WrestleMania coming up around the corner. This has to be one of the easiest matches to pick on the WrestleMania card. Definitely, I believe that Roman is going to be winning this. I made my first video for this match March 12th of last year. That Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar will be fighting for the Universal Championship in the main events of WrestleMania 34. You can draw back to WrestleMania 30 when they had the breakup of the Shield, really seeing that Roman Reigns was somebody that they wanted to push for Roman Reigns to go on and win the Royal Rumble that year, to go to WrestleMania, where I think the plans were for him to win the championship, and then they pulled that sort of switcheroo, maybe because of what happened at the Royal Rumble and the fans sort of backlashing against Roman. That's when they had Seth Rollins win the championship, and then of course Roman would go a year main event WrestleMania, yet once again beating Triple H, then go to WrestleMania 33 where he would main event and fight against The Undertaker, where people thought that he had sort of defeated Taker and not only, I guess you can't say he ended the streak, because the streak was only WrestleMania 31 and 32, where he got wins. It's two WrestleMania winning streaks, I guess you can say. But, I guess you can say ended the career of The Undertaker. But The Undertaker's come back. He's probably going to fight Cena, even though it's not announced yet. But Roman's the guy. I mean that's just the only way to put it. Roman's going to win this match. Brock might stay, Brock might go. If it was up to me, I'm hoping that Brock Lesnar leaves WWE because of the fact that his title reigns that he's had is build up until WrestleMania 31, and his build up from Brock won the championship at WrestleMania, so he's held that title for a year. And although this year he's had more title matches on pay-per-views, he's had matches against Joe and Strowman. He had the 5-way at SummerSlam. To me, it's just, it doesn't really seem like it means anything when the title's not around. And I understand they don't have a Money in the Bank guy on Monday Night Raw, so they don't have anybody walking around with the briefcase. But it just kills the excitement of what is the Universal Championship. When you know the guy's not going to be on a house show that they're going to, or he's not going to be on Monday Night Raw, where they can easily pop a rating or make you excited when you find out they're going to have a championship match. Even if it's not the predictable finish in your mind. There's still that chance in the back of your mind that something could go down tonight, and they might switch the title, which they've done before. So I'm hoping this isn't the main event. If I had to pick what I thought the main event was going to be this year, I really think it's going to be Cena versus Taker, even though it's not announced yet. Small thought in the back of my mind that maybe Rousey and Angle could be the main event against Triple H and Stephanie, but I sort of see that one not maybe in the middle, but maybe sort of in between the middle and the end of the show. I think it's definitely going to be one of the featured matches, but I mean, this is one that could go on, third or fourth into the show, and I think it could mean more to WrestleMania by not being in the main event spot. So we'll see if you guys can figure that one out. Looks like this is going to be a pretty good Mania. Excited for almost everything except for this match, and we'll see how that plays out at WrestleMania 34.